All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. Well, how you doing? How about a little levity today with a serious message? I'm talking with AJ Rice, who's with Publius PR. And it's not just that he has done in his lifetime, his professional life. No. He has worked with all conservative stars, if you will, over the years. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the events of the day and about his latest book. And it's called The White Privilege Album. So, and it's wonderful. His previous one is right behind me, The Woking Dead. So AJ's been around a while, writing about things that bother him, making sure that the conservative voice gets out. And here he is to be his own voice today. AJ Rice, welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. How you doing?
Great to be here. I'm not sure I'm going to be the adult in the room. I am Irish Catholic from Philadelphia. So, once I fall off the bar stool, the adults will be gone. I'll tell you that right now.
And he's coming out swinging. So AJ, tell the people who you've worked with over the past few years.
Well, like my fellow Philadelphian, Kevin Bacon, there really is no escape Publius PR. There's no escape AJ Rice. There's no escaping Publius PR. And instead of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's basically 1 or 2 degrees of AJ Rice. And,
I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bacon, he might be a little bit lib, but he was from Philadelphia, so I'll excuse, some of his behavior. And I will tell you that it's not something where you can sort of building Publius PR and building a media career when different elements of the media and even elements of what is supposed to be your own side, which would be, let's say, the Republican Party, are sort of stacked against you for different reasons. Reasons we could get into. Some of them have to do with, where you went to college, or did you go to college, or, or did you go to community college, or how, what were your diapers 14 karat gold? Oh no, mine were 24 karat gold. There's some nepotism and some silver spooner behavior in politics. Whether you're a populist, a conservative, a libertarian, everyone sort of has to deal with it. I'm sure some liberals, I'm sure if you talk to some Bernie Sanders, AOC type people, they would probably tell you they're dealing with it a little bit on their side as well. But I will tell you, I've watched a lot of people come and go in the media. My day job is running Publius PR. And before that, I worked as a producer of shows like this, some fairly famous ones. Before that, I worked on Capitol Hill. And I can tell you, this year marks 20 years that I've been here at the Swamp. And I've watched people try to parachute or take a helicopter ride to the top of the mountain instead of building it themselves from the ground up. Because if you build it from the ground up, then you own every level. You're not relying on what is the ground going to be like when I jump out of this helicopter to ski down the mountain. Whereas I know every inch of the mountain. I answer to no one. It would be very hard because of how disparate the company is to be able to cancel me. In fact, most of the brand that we have built here is one where we're the PR firm you come to not get canceled. We're the PR firm you come to say whatever the hell you want, within reason.
Well, now, what shows have you worked with specifically? People will be surprised to learn. I don't have my list in front of me for whatever reason.
Well, when I was 24 years old, I was hired by Laura Ingraham to be her basically assistant.
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me like an associate producer's tag. Within 9 months, I was the executive producer of her show.
Oh, I bet that.
Her show,
I bet you were.
So, and look, the great lady's tough. The great lady's tough.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
she don't have a ramp. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
She's got a collection of scalps on her wall, just like I do. Working, and look, it took me 9 months. I took over the show. It's kind of like the old joke about Dick Cheney. George W. Bush put Dick Cheney in charge of finding vice president. And Laura put me in charge of finding him the executive producer. So I looked in the mirror and I found myself. And I was there 4 years, 5 years. And then I did the Monica Crowley show for a couple years. And then I was brought in by John Solomon at the Washington Times to launch something called the America's Morning News. And then I was brought in by Glenn Beck's people to help launch the Blaze Radio Network. So during that 10-year period, I worked with all of them. Plus, because of the network I worked at, I was working with, let's see, Dr. Laura, Mancow, Tammy Bruce, Ben Shapiro, Rusty Humphreys, Ed Henry, and Michael Sabat. And then while you're doing that, you meet a lot of the hosts around the country. I mean, there's a gentleman that you fill in for on radio that used to work with me at Talk Radio Network.
Oh, Jason Rantz would be that person. Yes. He's been one of my guests before. Yeah, correct. That's interesting. I didn't realize he was on that network.
And I am his literary agent. I'm not sure you knew that, but
I did not know that. But that makes sense.
Yes. So look, I mean, I've been doing this a while. It helps when you have a syndicated product. You meet a lot of the station and local hosts.
Well, yeah. So you get everybody together. You get a list. Right. You get the quote unquote Rolodex.
Oh, it's crazy. So when you go on with, obviously, back when I basically reverse engineered what I was doing, which is about 10 years ago, from just being a producer into being more of a consultant and then doing PR, it helped that Laura and Monica in particular, who are kind of like my big sisters, very different. They're both tough. One worked for Nixon, one worked for Reagan. Fire and ice, I call them. They kind of pulled me, like a puppy from the river, like Moses. So, and to this day, I was just messaging with Monica an hour ago. She's looking for a apartment here in D.C. because she's back. She's going to be the Assistant Secretary of State. Last time around she worked for the Treasury. So, yeah, Monica's worked for two presidents, I guess, Nixon and Trump. And then Laura worked for Reagan as a speechwriter for Bill Bennett. Worked with Peggy Noonan and others. And then she went and clerked for the Supreme Court for Clarence Thomas.
Right.
So
yeah, I guess I didn't realize she was a speechwriter. That's interesting. Okay, I can only imagine the stories from Peggy Noonan. That must have been interesting.
There's all kinds of stories. But yeah, look, for anyone out there watching, there's no straight line in the media. There just isn't, and it is a different world outside of the DC, New York, which is now DC, New York, Palm Beach corridor. But you could do it from almost anywhere. I've had a lot of different tastes of how this works, and I've been on many sides of it. I've been a fill-in host. I've been a producer. I've been the literary agent. I've been the author of the book. I've been the publicist for the book. So that's why we pretty much say here, all roads lead to Publius PR, because, even before I got into this game, I'd like to think I was fairly connected. I was the youngest producer of a top 5 radio show ever. Laura was 4th. So it went Rush, Dawn, Savage, Ingram, and then Glenn Beck, and then Mark Levin. So, and some of those people are still out there doing it, So Laura did her last radio show in 2017, and a bunch of us came back to produce the last show. So, and Trump called in, and Limbaugh called in. It was very
wow.
It was very touching.
I'm going to go back and listen to that.
Yeah. So, look, But Ingram and Crowley, I mean, they and a few others like Andrew Breitbart, um, they were mentors to me.
How was Andrew Breitbart a mentor to you? How did that work?
So when we were running, when I was working at Publius PR, Breitbart. Well, first of all, whenever Laura would go into L.A. and Breitbart was running a shift on Drudge, him and Lowry would come over to KRLA Los Angeles
Mm-hmm.
and
Used to
hang
fill in
out,
there.
and they would hang out and would do in studio hits, and then we'd go out afterwards and blow it out.
Barney's
and then
Beanery. Did you go to Barney's
Yeah.
Beanery?
Yeah, I've been there.
Me too.
And then Andrew, remember, a lot of people don't know this. When Breitbart.com started, it was basically just a alternative wire service that Drudge was using, right? So this is before the Bannon years, right? So, and then he started, remember, it was Breitbart.com, but then there was like big Hollywood and, big journalism and, he had different people involved. Dana Lash was involved and Clavin and Shapiro and so on. But Andrew started becoming a fill-in host. He filled in for Ingram. He filled in for Jerry Doyle, filled in for Savage. So I would produce the show. So he and I got close that way. And then, we would talk a lot of trash to each other because of sports, because he was a big LA Dodgers fan. And at that time, the Philadelphia Phillies were doing a number on the Dodgers quite a bit. And, we just sort of hit it off. And, long before the Acorn sting with James and Hannah, me, Jason Matera, Steven Crowder, and Ben Shapiro, the four of us, were pretty much his apprentices. This is before Acorn. So, so a lot of the real estate that I see people walking around on out there, if you dig deep enough, you'll find my bones under the soil. So yeah, but
huge
the four of us.
Huge admirer of
So, and then
Andrew Breitbart.
obviously, as he got bigger and it got wilder, and the Tea Party came about, and he had the Anthony Weiner picture and all the other stuff. I mean, the company I worked, we were involved with helping him get that stuff out there in the media. So, and we miss him, we miss him. We miss Rush. There's others we miss, but Breitbart and Rush are two big ones.
Let me ask.
It's a shame they're not with us.
I agree. I miss both of them every single day. I'm a ditto head from way back, and Andrew Breitbart used to come on my show. So.
My birthday is January 12th, and me and the Golden EIB Mike master there had the same birthday. It's amazing that AJ Rice, Rush Limbaugh, and Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh had the same birthday. It's an amazing thing.
Did not know that.
I was born on the same day, so was Jeff Bezos and a few others that I don't take responsibility for. But, it's when I tell people that, they're like, well, it's probably a good thing you're in the media, right? So,
Right.
And in radio and in the media business. So I admire both of them. Howard, we've kind of lost Howard. Howard's
he's
hanging out. He's out on Long Island with Billy Joel playing mahjong in the basement. They're out there giving each other booster shots.
Oh yeah, geez. Let me ask you something. Before we get
the booster.
Yep. Well, he'll take it willingly. How many does he have? How many have I should say?
Wow.
And how many
100.
times has he had COVID? Question. What happened to Matt Drudge?
I don't know. I really don't. There's all kinds of theories. Whatever it was, he definitely signed an NDA. He has to keep up appearances. I know Tucker and other people have done a deep dive on this. There's all kinds of theories. I mean, we lost Ann too. I mean, she's still fair. She's out there a little bit, I guess, right? Principally, her principles really haven't changed much. But her and Drudge were always buddies. Ann Coulter and Matt Drudge. And I've hung out with them both. It's an interesting thing. But something happened. I don't know what. I don't know whether he sold the website. I don't know whether the CIA walked in with a dossier and put it in front of him. I don't necessarily know. Coulter, I think got annoyed by, I think it's a personality thing with Ann. But
what do you mean?
her
Just
Drudge,
with Trump, you mean?
with Trump,
Yeah.
yeah. Or she was trying to pull Trump further to the right, and he was getting pulled around in his first term by, people that shouldn't have been there, quite frankly. I mean, some of the points Ann made are not inaccurate.
No. He should have finished the wall. That's where she lost him, or he lost her.
Right. Well, if you talk to Stephen Miller and Peter Navarro and some of the people that were there for all 4 years last time, there's only about 5 or 6 people that were there the whole time. There was all kinds of people in that White House that should have never been in there. Now, I don't know whether Priebus's idea. Yeah, different types of RNC plants and deep state plants, H.R. McMaster and the Mustache and Tillerson and Mad Dog Mattis and the rest of these freaking lifer, deep state, grifters. But at the same time, then you had the reality people there. Like Omarosa. What the hell was Omarosa doing? My point is,
I don't know.
You had a bunch of chiefs and not enough Indians that were bringing all their people in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you interview Navarro or anybody, they'll all tell you that. And even Trump in some interviews when he was running this time, he said, "Look, here's the audience has to remember this. A little history lesson. Trump is the only president that had not done one of two things prior to being elected president. One, he had not held public office anywhere. Not a governor, not a senator, not a congressman, not a dog catcher, nothing. Ever. That's one. Two, he also had never been, held a military rank. So, like a general. And that's really what we've elected here in the United States. Politicians, whether it's Senator Jack Kennedy or Governor Reagan, right? Or generals. General Washington, General Andrew Jackson, General Ulysses S. Grant, General Zachary Taylor, right? General Eisenhower, and on and on and on. So Trump's the first person that was neither of these things. So when he rolls into town, he's rolling in with his family. He didn't have some staff. Like when George W. Bush came into town, he came into town with Karen Hughes and Dick Armitage and Turd Blossom. Karl Rove comes in with Turd Blossom. And Reagan came in with Meese and Schultz and Deaver and all those guys from California, because he'd been governor for 8 years, and Bush had been governor for like 10 years or something. So, even Jimmy Carter had a staff from being governor of Georgia. So you have to remember that. And here he is, and D.C. went after him. I mean, they were after him during the first transition, right? So, and that's the thing is like, okay, am I supposed to trust Reince Priebus to staff this White House? I mean, where did Tillerson come from? Where
Somebody
did
recommended him.
Mattis come from?
Right. I liked Mattis, but and you know what? At least he had the decency to resign when he didn't want to do what Trump did. He didn't agree with Trump. Left. Okay. There might be more skullduggery in the background that I'm unaware of, but I always admired him a lot. Well, let me ask you, if I may, since we don't have all the time in the world, which I would love to have with you, when we are we're talking on a day that's just days after the Los Angeles fires, would it surprise you to learn that the place that is supposed to supply water and power to Los Angeles is on the full DEI train? And I don't blame DEI for starting the fires. I'm not going there. That's dumb. But what I am saying is, don't you wonder if they treated the ability to dole out the water similarly similar to what the Maui fire people did when they said, "Oh, no, it's a total equity thing." Don't you worry about that?
Sure. I mean, look, so the person in charge of the water in LA who gets paid $750,000 a year was a woman that was in charge of responses in Puerto Rico when those hurricanes hit and those floods happened. So this is somebody that grew up in Puerto Rico. This is a person that failed Puerto Rico. It's a person that's got, an ethnic sounding name. So she got this job, and she's a woman and she's Hispanic. And she made sure that the fire hydrants were empty. Okay? Look, I have no problem with Puerto Rican water authority people or lesbian firefighters, but you better be the best. You better be the best. You better be freaking Jackie Robinson. Because if you're not Jackie Robinson, there's one thing the American people hate more than anything else, right? And that is people that jump the line, people that don't use merit as a qualifier, right? If you just would have had a little bit more white privilege there, the fire hydrants might be filled with water. Look, I can't believe when this news started trickling out that all these people in the command structure of the fire department were a bunch of lesbian women. So look, I'm Irish Catholic. I like my firefighters either black and they look like they should be the defensive line of the Chicago Bears, or Irish. Because the Irish have been firefighters, Irish and blacks, at least here on the East Coast, have been the firefighters and some Italians for 100 years. They can drink a fifth of freaking Jameson and go pull 15 people out of the building without breaking a nail. Okay? That's what they can do. Right? So, and it's the same thing with the military. Look, if you can pass all the physical qualifications, okay, fine. But that is really not the case. I'm sorry. People are being given jobs, not through a meritocracy and not through any type of authenticity. It is a freaking it's a Benetton ad. It's a sushi menu of identity politics where they want to fill these freaking roles with the Crayola 64 box. It's absolutely insane. Look, some people like to call me the Black Steph Curry, but I'm not. I'm not the Black Steph Curry, right? I'm blacker than Steph Curry, but I'm not the Black Steph Curry. I will tell you, as good as I was playing basketball in high school, Catholic League Philadelphia, right? Playing against the brothers in South Philly before and after a cheesesteak. I grew up wanting to be Allen Iverson. I will tell you, as much as I think that my white privilege should have put me last summer on the American Olympic basketball team with LeBron and KD and Steph Curry, the reality is there were no white dudes on that team. And guess why? Because they weren't good enough. And the only white dudes that are playing for Slovenia, Slovakia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Right? That's who they're playing. And that's just it. And I'm going to have to live with that. Right? It's like most of us on the East Coast, who said this? Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis says, look, you grew up on the East Coast. You pretty much saw a black dude dunk in middle school. And once you saw that, you were like, okay, I'm going to move on here. I'm going to go play tennis. It's a fun, right? Somebody teach me how to ice skate. But the reality is that it just is what it is. So are these lesbians? Is the rainbow fight?
We are going to get taken off of YouTube for this.
No, we're not. All I want to know is, are they the best? Are these three? Hold on, wait a minute. What's their names here? I've got their names ready to go.
Kristen. Lots of Kristens over there.
Christina Crowley, first LG fire chief. Now, her salary is she makes the same amount as the President of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
She makes $440,000 a year. Is she the greatest lesbian fire chief of all time? Is she the only?
She's got a lot of experience.
Right. Oh, okay. She's got a lot of experience. Christina Kepner, first lesbian assistant chief.
Oh,
she makes $265,000. Christine, what's with the names? Are they
I
coming out
know.
of a
I'm
machine?
telling you.
Wait a minute. Christina, and Christine Larson. She's first black lesbian equity
Oh, she's
bureau
the
chief.
DEI lady. Yeah.
Well, then you've got Jeunesse
Wait.
Quinones.
Hold.
Then you got-
she makes $750,000 a year.
She makes $750.
So
Yeah.
back to the DEI lady, who's named to be the DEI lady. She's the one who was seen on video mocking people who get stuck in burning buildings. Hey, listen, if I have to come and carry you out, then you're in the wrong place, is what she said. That is insane.
Well, we found out, and we know California is more screwed up than probably the other 49 states for the most part. It's definitely more screwed up even than the federal government that has been run by a reanimated corpse for the last 4 years, the leader of the Walking Dead back there on your windowsill.
That's right.
And we know that the federal government, people at FEMA were telling people in Florida to not go rescue or help people whose homes might be damaged if there was a Trump sign.
North Carolina. Yeah, absolutely. That happened.
Wasn't it Florida and North Carolina both?
I
was it just in North Carolina?
I remember it being in North Carolina because that was the worst
It was
hit.
right around that same time period.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But this was happening at the federal level.
Outrageous.
Can you imagine what the 3 lesbian Christinas are doing when we're not looking? Can you imagine? Right? You know what?
AJ, you're killing me.
As a Lucky Charms eater and as an Irish Catholic from Philadelphia, Irish people are really sick of the rainbow being used, misused.
Yep, I gotcha.
When it was ours first. It was ours first. The Irish people had it first. It's magically delicious, and it has nothing to do.
It has something. It's the Bible. It's in the Bible. It's the promise. Why do you think they took it over? They wanted to just do maximum harm, and we're going to go after that.
But you can't write these jokes. I mean, look. My books, the White Privilege album and The Walking Dead, are like Limbaugh used to say. His job was to use irreverent humor to illustrate truth.
Yep.
That's all we're doing here, Christinas and Tristans. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing because you can't. Look, I see Whitney Cummings making jokes. I see Adam Carolla making jokes. I mean, the reality here is you can't freaking write this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The people that voted 99% for Democrats and felt so wonderful for themselves, virtue signaling themselves to death with the signs outside their yard.
Right.
My daughter will marry Dr. Fauci. Love is love. In this house, we vaccinate. Go hug a Muslim. Go hug a black midget. Go do this, go this. Whatever it is. You've seen those signs. Come on. The reality is, look at the freaking apocalypse they brought on themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely.
I feel bad.
2 more questions because no. People should what?
I'm just saying people should not have to experience, freaking Ragnarok, the depths of maybe this is how. Maybe California will. They want a great reset. Maybe California will reset itself. In the aftermath, they got to get these fires out first. They're still burning.
These fires have occurred before. Not this bad.
Yeah, I know, but not like this. But like most of liberalism there in LA County, it's burning.
Uh-huh.
And you have to say to yourself, my God, people, there's plenty of competent people that aren't necessarily, don't necessarily look like me, right? That you can find. You don't need some kind of, box checking sushi menu of DEI and ESG to do this. You could find competent people. Now, Joe Biden didn't find one. There's plenty of other African-American women he could have found. But he chose, Kamala.
Do you know who number 2? Number 2 was the mayor of Los Angeles, who's a card-carrying communist.
You can't even.
I mean,
you can't write this stuff.
Karen Bass is awful, by the way. Listen, I have to ask you one more thing because I know you've got to go. The book is the White Privilege album with apologies to the Beatles from back in the day.
Yes.
But what do you think of Zuckerberg and saying, is the censorship industrial complex over?
Well, this was a woke Waterloo moment, but it's not over. They may stop using these terms DEI and woke. But basically what it really was is political correctness dressed up with ethno-supremacy or gender supremacy or whatever it is, whether it's the Me Too movement or the trans mafia. This is all the tyranny of the minority trying to force Americans into these little uncomfortable, wacky places that, that most free-thinking people don't want to be in, right? So they're gonna burrow in like termites, because look, at the core of all of this is cultural Marxism. That's what this is. And cultural Marxism has been around 100 years. It's like herpes. You have a flare-up. Every once in a while, you get a flare-up, or you get a fever blister. So, it will be back. Right now, they're being shamed into hiding. Although, AOC's fighting with Nancy Mace on Capitol Hill about letting, Congressman Gary Christina, whatever her name is, into the men's bathroom or whatever that she wants to do. So, no, they will not learn their lesson on some of this. Now they're bleeding Catholic Hispanics, they're bleeding black males, they're bleeding Jewish voters, they're bleeding Muslims that don't like wokeism, like in Dearborn, Michigan. So they're going to have to reassess what their priorities are. Is it the Teamsters and the Plumbers Union, right? Is it the SEIU in Las Vegas, which Trump just stole from them, and that is a big-time left-wing group. But all Trump had to say was no tax on tips. That's it. So honestly, that is going to be the thing to watch. Will the curse of the bearded lady, because that's what this is the curse of the bearded lady, will they learn their lesson from the curse? Or will they move beyond this and say, there's not 72 genders. I don't want Tim and Jim in my daughter's locker room. Let's get back to the people's business, right?
Unburdened by what has been.
And move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they put them when you learn their lesson.
The book.
We'll just keep winning. We'll just keep winning elections. So I guess keep it up, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, keep it up. And we'll just keep clean. We'll keep cleaning your clock.
Go ahead. The White Privilege album, Publius Prose, 12 Months of Privilege. Hey,
That's
AJ, why don't we listen to your song that you wrote? You produced this, right?
Do it.
Here
I
we
did.
Go.
This is the White Privilege album. Say it twice, the White Privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. This is the White Privilege album. Say it twice, the White Privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. Man, I'm watching as the world go crazy. Boys used to age to men, and girls used to grow to ladies. But now up to needs is a thought, I mean it, it's a lot. And guys gotta hop on step stools just to eat its food. Back on the main topic of white privilege, there's definitely some extent to it, but what type is this? It's getting nuts from classrooms to trash rooms. Full grown men with kids in school up in my niece's bathroom. Yeah, we pale as ghosts. I don't mean to brag and boast. Ask the people social media, tag and post. When the top few percent ain't broke as me. Kamala Harris used to lock people up just for smoking weed. Trump old AF, he got privilege as a resident. No matter what, the next few years will be our president. Imagine 20 years what these girls gon' be. Gas prices went down, somebody start World War III. You need to cop the book, cause if you see him wait, our next president will do more than just fall asleep in the debate. Probably pee himself and faint just cause of the topic. Calm down, it's a book, no need to rage or form a mosh pit. Just cop the White Privilege album. Breathe deep, relax and calm down, son. Why everyone but hurt, everything's so serious. Cause AJ said it don't exist like the pregnant chicks, period. Exclamation, my ex is hating. Cause ball's better than Xanax, finish this with exclamations. Last thing left before I drown you with the hook. AJ Rice twice as nice, he made an album and a book. This is the White Privilege album. Say it twice, the White Privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the hook, cause the novel is an album and the album is a book. This is the White Privilege album. Say it twice, the White Privilege album. Author is AJ Rice. Man, I'm off the novel is an album and the album is a book.
And there it is.
Right.
Wow.
Hey, look, big shout out to BK, Bekay. He's a Brooklyn rapper, pro-American guy. He's like an old school battle rapper there. He's worked with the Wu-Tang Clan and Redman and Nas, and he's been around a while. Pro-America, pro-Israel type of guy. And, it's funny. There's some stories behind him trying to find a studio where he could go in and do. Some of his posse was giving him a hard time on some of it because they're like, "What are you talking about, white privilege? What are you talking about?" But no, he was a good sport, and it turned out pretty good, I think.
It's very good. Bringing racial harmony to very fine people on both sides.
That's
AJ
right.
Rice, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the Adults in the Room
That's what we're here to
podcast.
do. Big shout out to the very fine people. Everybody have a happy new year. Let's get after it here. We're going to get a new president, hopefully a new United States.
Sure hope so. Thanks again. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. To keep the programs you like to listen to, please rate this podcast with a fantastic 5 stars on your Apple Podcast app every time you listen. And give me a great review. Plus, of course, subscribe to the podcast. It makes a difference with the big tech algorithm and the big tech oligarchs, and it makes us easier to find. Please get in touch with me on all the big tech stuff. Yeah, we're still there. Using the names Victoria Taft or the Adult in the Room podcast on MeWe, Parler, Minds, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks to 1ACast for imaging, editing, and production. The fantastic song is Gospel by the March 4th Band of Portland, Oregon. Music for Antifa versus Mike Strickland is Ride or Die by Raps by RC. The Adult in the Room podcast is also a production of Flamingo Road Studios. Remember, head up, heart out, and strive to be the adult in the room. Till next time, mischief managed.